I can't tell you how many people I speak to that again, I don't want to go into it, but come from abusive homes or come from whatever situations. And they're living their life and they're literally going down the road that their parents went down. Literally reliving it every step of the way. As a couple I'm dealing with, I turned to them a while ago and I said to them, this is like so insane. You both really love each other. You both really care. If you owned a gun, you'd both be shooting each other. And yet, you really love each other. But the craziest part about it is that if I asked his wife to describe his father, and if I asked his wife to describe him, they describe the same exact person. Right? Whereas, if I would ask him to describe his mother, and I would ask him to describe his wife, he'd describe the same exact person. And when literally this was a conversation, and I turned to the wife and I say, is he right? Are you your mother? She says, yeah. I said, do you want to be your mother? She goes, no way. My mother had the most miserable life, the most miserable marriage. She was miserable. I couldn't stand being in that house. And I turned to the guy and I said, do you want to be your father? He goes, no way. My father had this trauma and that trauma, and he came from parents from the Holocaust. And again, I'm not knocking on the parents. I'm giving you a specific example that I see constantly. I don't want to be that. I want to learn. Great! So why don't you stop the cycle? Oh, but you know what she said? Dude, that's what your father would say to me. What about you? Why aren't you stopping the cycle? Wife, why aren't you stopping the cycle? There is a cycle that goes on. That a grandfather gives it over to the father gives it to the son gives it to his son, and it goes on, and it starts from Shimon, and it goes all the way down to Midian, where the same guy who couldn't get control over his impulse control problems, and therefore wiped out Shem, had a whole shevet of children go and fall to Midian, fall to Baal Peor. Why? Because they didn't have impulse control. So we can make a whole shir about impulse control. That's not what I want to do. That's not what I want to make about this. I want to make about this the importance of not just being lackadaisical. If somebody lived through something, don't think you're smarter. You're not. Don't think you're better. You're not. You're going to repeat and do the exact same thing unless you take steps to change it, to stop that cycle. To stop that cycle. I saw a beautiful clip a while back from a guy, but a psychologist was explaining this concept of a cycle going on. Who? I have absolutely no idea, but you can tell me if this is true, because I don't remember names. And it was a white guy.
Old?
I don't know, but there are many old white guys in the world side. Could be. And he takes a cup, right? A glass cup filled with blue water, whatever, and he pours it into an empty cup. He says, this is the grandfather. And he pours it into the empty cup. He says, this is the blue, is all the trauma for the grandfather, all the negativity, all the pain, all the blah, 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 blah. And he goes and he pours it into the next cup. It's the exact same thing. He passed it over to his son. It just continues, same blue. And then he goes into the next cup, pass it over, and it doesn't dilute. It continues straight on. Until he came to one, he says, now this is you. What are you going to do? He picks up another empty cup. This is your child. What are you going to do? Are you going to do this? Or are you going to do something? And he takes a empty glass, a full cup of water, and he starts pouring it in. And then he pours another and another until it gets diluted. And then he passes it over to his son. You got to understand there is a cycle, there is a pass on, that unless you make steps to stop, you will relive the mistakes. You will 100%. And again, this isn't a video to rip on fathers. Rabbi say out on the world. This isn't for you. I don't even know if I'm going to post this. This isn't for you. This is a Minyan Shalanu video. This is for people who went through very difficult lives. Whether it was your father, whether it was your Rebbe, whether it was you yourself, whether it was whatever the case may be. Do you want to pass all your garbage onto your son or not? Because if you don't do something about it, it's exactly what you're going to do. Your son will become you, your daughter will marry you. That is the reality.